The Cautionary Tale of Cody Bell, a critical analysis of narrative collapse in General Hospital. In the sprawling, multi-generational tapestry of daytime soap operas, the most sacred covenant between creators and their audience is the promise of continuity and meaningful character investment. Viewers dedicate years, even decades, to the lives unfolding on their screens, trusting that the intricate webs of history, family, and emotional trauma will be honored. However, when this trust is broken, it sends shockwaves through the very foundation of the narrative. The recent speculation surrounding the abrupt departure of actor Josh Kelly, who portrays Cody Bell on ABC's General Hospital, serves as a stark and troubling case study of this phenomenon, a narrative disaster unfolding in what feels like a slow-motion collapse. While the network has remained silent, the closing moments of the June 20th episode sent a clear, albeit unofficial, signal to the fanbase. The story of Cody Bell may be over. This potential exit is not merely the departure of another character. It represents the squandering of immense potential, the abandonment of legacy connections, and the frustrating culmination of a disjointed and poorly navigated character arc. The story of Cody Bell is a cautionary tale, a symptom of a larger structural flaw in modern soap opera storytelling where the pursuit of short-term drama consistently sabotages the potential for long-term emotional resonance, leaving viewers with a hollow echo of what could have been. Part 1. The Promise of a Legacy Character. To understand the depth of this narrative failure, one must first revisit the immense promise with which Cody Bell was introduced to Port Charles. He did not arrive as a blank slate, but as a character intrinsically woven into the show's rich history. Revealed as the son of the late Dominique Baldwin and carrying a direct, albeit initially convoluted, familial tie to the venerable Mac Scorpio, Cody was a bridge to a cherished era of General Hospital. In the world of daytime drama, legacy characters are the lifeblood. They are the anchors that connect the present to a storied past, offering a wellspring of potential for revisiting historical legacies and exploring unresolved family trauma. Cody's introduction was poised to do just that. Fans were immediately intrigued by the prospect of Mac Scorpio, a man who has been a pillar of the community for decades, finally grappling with a potential son he never knew he had. This storyline alone was brimming with possibilities for profound emotional exploration, themes of identity, regret, acceptance, and the very definition of family. The character himself was crafted from a compelling archetype, the conflicted anti-hero. Possessing a raw charm and a rough-around-the-edges demeanor, Cody was layered with an underlying vulnerability that made him instantly relatable. He was a man shaped by a difficult past, torn between the impulsive, self-sabotaging habits of his youth and a burgeoning desire to build something meaningful. His interactions with key figures like Mac, his fledgling romance with Maxie, and even his complex, tragic connection to the now-deceased Britt Westbourne all pointed toward a character on a journey of redemption. For a time, it seemed he would become a compelling figure, someone whose internal conflicts could drive engaging, character-centric stories for years to come. The writers had laid the groundwork for a rich, emotionally complex arc that promised to honor the show's history while expanding its future. Part 2. The Unraveling, a study in narrative meandering. Unfortunately, this promising foundation soon began to crumble under the weight of inconsistent and meandering writing. The clear, emotionally driven motivations that should have defined Cody's journey became increasingly muddled and disjointed. The complexity that initially made him so interesting began to fade, replaced by erratic decisions and a perplexing lack of narrative focus. His path became less about his own internal struggles and more about serving the plot machinations of other characters. The final nail in the coffin for Cody's character integrity was his recent entanglement in Christina Corinthos Davis's manipulative scheme. In a storyline riddled with red flags and moral ambiguity, Cody was reduced from a man with a rich backstory to a mere pawn in a petty revenge plot. Driven by jealousy over her sister Molly's burgeoning romance with Cody, Christina orchestrated a plan to use him to lure Ava Jerome away from Rick Lansing. This narrative choice was a profound disservice not only to Cody, but to the audience's intelligence. Watching a character with deep-seated legacy connections and a compelling personal history be hijacked for a contrived, short-sighted conflict was not just frustrating, it was disheartening. The writers effectively stripped away the layers that made him potentially redeemable, transforming him from a conflicted soul seeking a place in the world to an inconsequential tool in someone else's story. The emotional stakes of his connection to Mac, the lingering ghost of his love for Britt, and his own personal quest for a better life were all sacrificed at the altar of a plot that felt both inorganic and trivial. This devolution represents a narrative betrayal, a clear signal that the long-term potential of a character was deemed less important than a momentary and ultimately unsatisfying, dramatic twist. Part 3. The Ripple Effect, Collateral Damage in Port Charles. A poorly executed character exit rarely happens in a vacuum. The fallout from Cody Bell's potential departure is already creating destabilizing ripples across the Port Charles canvas, affecting multiple characters and leaving a crater of unresolved storylines in its wake. The most immediate casualty is Molly. After years of emotional turbulence, she had begun to slowly let her guard down with Cody. Her hard-won trust is now poised to be shattered yet again, reinforcing a tragic pattern that seems to define her romantic life. This isn't just a simple breakup, it's a fundamental shift in her character's trajectory. What began as subtle self-preservation is spiraling into full-blown emotional tyranny. Molly is transforming from the composed, level-headed, and principled law student into someone who fears the collapse of her perfectly ordered world so profoundly that she must control every facet of it. This fear is manifesting as an obsession, and that obsession is morphing into a need to micromanage the lives of those around her rather than acknowledge her own vulnerabilities. This is not the evolution of a character. It is a descent into emotional repression, a psychological shift that feels more like a symptom of narrative convenience than organic personal growth. Simultaneously, the storyline has pivoted to reposition Ava Jerome. Long known for her razor-sharp instincts and deadly precision in personal and professional warfare, Ava now appears to be orchestrating a ruthless counterstrike. Recognizing the weakness in Cody's armor, she seems to be exploiting it without mercy, setting him up for a catastrophic downfall that could permanently remove him from the canvas. Whether she suspects his true motives or simply sees him as a disposable pawn in a larger game, Ava is no longer the target of manipulation but the executioner. Perhaps the most damaging consequence of Cody's exit lies in the precedent it sets. General Hospital has long struggled with fully realizing the arcs of its secondary characters. Promising figures like Sasha, Brando, and Britt were built up with complex stories, only to be dismantled, often without satisfying resolutions. This isn't just a writing problem, it's a structural flaw that undermines viewer investment. Cody's story was brimming with unresolved threads. The truth about his paternity, his strained ties with Mac, his profound guilt over Britt's death, and his honest attempts at redemption. To sweep all of that away with a rushed exit is to betray the emotional and narrative stakes that viewers have spent months following. Part 4. A symptom of a larger sickness. The soap opera's structural flaw. Cody Bell's mishandled arc is, tragically, not an isolated incident. It is a potent symptom of a larger ailment affecting General Hospital and, indeed, the broader landscape of daytime drama. The systematic sacrifice of long-term storytelling for the fleeting thrill of short-term plot twists. In a genre built on the foundation of long-form character development, the practice of cutting off arcs before they reach their emotional peak fundamentally undermines the integrity of the narrative structure. The timing of Cody's rumored departure is particularly symbolic. It comes just before the anticipated, albeit ethereal, return of Britt Westbourne. From the moment Britt died, Cody's role in the narrative became inextricably tied to her memory. He was supposed to be the man who carried her ghost, who bore the weight of what could have been. Their unresolved chemistry, the choices left unspoken, and the guilt he held over his dishonesty during her final months all set the stage for what could have been a redemptive, emotionally charged arc for his character. Fans expected him to change because of Britt. They expected him to grow, reflect, and maybe, in time, honor her memory by becoming a better man. By scripting Cody's exit just before Britt's return, the show seems to be erasing the very chance for that catharsis. It denies both characters the closure they deserve. Britt, the woman who died never knowing the full truth about Cody's identity and intentions, and Cody, the man who never got to confess, to ask for forgiveness, or to show how deeply he regretted the lies he told. That emotional reckoning could have been powerful. Instead, the audience is asked to accept a version of events where closure is sacrificed for the sake of expediency. This decision sends a ripple of narrative dissonance through the show. It suggests a creative direction that is not driven by story, but by external recalibration, a reshuffling of cast, contracts, or priorities that overrides story logic. The result is a storyline that feels hollow, as though its soul was removed just before it could sing. It's a sign that character arcs, no matter how rich with potential, can be discarded before they reach their natural conclusion, leaving the audience to wonder what the point of it all really was. Conclusion: a legacy of missed chances. As fans await official confirmation, the anxiety grows. Cody Bell could have been a long-term fixture in Port Charles, a flawed, fascinating man with deep ties to the canvas. Instead, if these rumors hold true, he will leave behind a legacy of missed chances and emotional threads cut far too short. This isn't just about one character exiting, it's about a larger thematic rupture, a disruption in the emotional continuity of the show's long-running character webs. The decision to remove Cody from the canvas, particularly before Britt's return, feels symbolic. It signals that the writers are not interested in resolution, they are interested in disruption. By eliminating the possibility of Cody facing Britt, or even being haunted by her presence in any meaningful way, the storyline effectively severs a branch of emotional continuity that many viewers had invested in. It's not just that Cody is leaving, it's that he's leaving unfinished, unresolved, and untransformed. His arc becomes a loose thread dangling in the wind. This is a disservice not just to the actor, Josh Kelly, who brought charm and gravity to a character often asked to shift gears mid-scene without justification, but to the audience who watched Cody stumble, struggle, and show glimpses of something more. And that, more than anything, will be the most ironic and tragic outcome. Cody's looming departure from General Hospital won't be remembered for how he left, but for how he was never truly allowed to arrive. It is a cautionary tale of what happens when a soap opera forgets its own emotional memory, and a reminder that the most powerful moments in daytime drama come not from twists or exits, but from letting characters face what they've done, what they've lost, and what they might still become, together. Cody and Britt deserve that chance. Now, it seems they'll never get it, and General Hospital will never be quite the same without it. Thanks for watching this videos. Please hit the subscribe button for more updated news.